Ladies and gentlemen, Brandi Benson is about to come on and rock your world. This woman is a survivor, a thriver, a champion, overcomer of cancer, and just an absolutely stellar powerhouse. And you're going to be super inspired by her journey, what she has overcome, and just hearing from her. Definitely stay tuned because this is going to be a powerful interview. Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you for being here, for choosing to be and become your greatest possible self. Thank you so much. Next up is our iTunes review of the week, and this week it's by Jenny Bell. Jenny Bell says, so much value. Chris obviously pours his heart and soul into the podcast and marathon. He brings out the best in his guests, sharing their gifts with the world. Jenny Bell, we absolutely do that. Thank you so much for that review. If you want a chance to get shouted out on a future 12-hour live stream, go to beergps.com/iTunes or search Greatest Possible Self on the Apple Podcast Store. Give us a review there. Let us know what you love, what you want to see more of, how we can improve the show for you. Thank you so much. I'm going to introduce Brandi in just a sec. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes. This is going to be a powerful interview. Definitely stick around all the way through to the end because one idea has the power to change everything for you. Brandi Benson is an American speaker, author, and founder of the premier employment service company, Resume Advantage. A former U.S. Army soldier who is now the author of the acclaimed book, The Enemy Inside Me, and has been featured on radio, TV, magazines, and international media platforms, including ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox, CW, New York Journal, and will be honored with an award from the Sarcoma Foundation of America on October 2nd, 2020. And in 2009, after being diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, Ewing Sarcoma, Brandi fought to overcome her diagnosis, heal after her treatments, and reclaimed her life through therapy, physical activities, and other healthy living practices. Through her speaking engagements and signature topic, Overcoming the Enemy Inside of You, culled from the title of her acclaimed book, Brandi transforms the lives of her audience by encouraging them to pursue different avenues of physical and mental therapy to take charge of their healing and wellness. And we're blessed to have Brandi with us here today. Are you ready to rock it, Superwoman?
I'm so ready. That intro is super long. I gotta shorten that up.
It's perfect. It's perfect. You are a champion. I love your shirt. Humankind. Be bold. I love it. I saw on your Facebook wall like the avatar, the video, the TikTok video of your avatar, like changing out the items and stuff. I was like, yes. It was so good. So
you need to laugh because it's so depressing.
Yes.
What's going on? And I'm a people pleaser. I like to make people laugh and make them happy. So yes.
I love it. I love it, Brandi. You're a champion. So we're going to dive right in. The theme of today is create your breakthrough. What does that mean for you?
Create your breakthrough. Gosh. Well, to me, create your breakthrough would definitely be understanding the values and the lessons that you've learned in your life, and then being able to use those tools and those resources to power up your next move. Ooh. So maybe some sort of something backfired and it didn't work out, but you can use those lessons that you've learned and then reapply them for a new breakthrough or something that's transformative in the future.
Gold. I love it. Brandi, you're a powerhouse. So I mentioned a little bit about who you are, what you stand for, but tell us more about Resume Advantage and who your clients are, what they come to you for, and you do speaking as well. Just tell us a little bit more.
All right. So I am the owner, founder, not the CEO because there's only a couple of us there. So I'm going to say the owner, the founder of Resume Advantage. And we do employment services. So we do a lot of resumes and cover letters. We do professional bios. We do some marketing, some graphic design, some website stuff, but it's more so for those who are trying to get in like the interview process. So you want to get the interview, you want to get the job. So we kind of prepare you for that. We also do interview preparation. So it's about 15 minutes. We get the questions for you. We do like a simulation of what they're going to be asking, how you need to answer the questions in the STAR format. A lot of people don't know that. But you need it. That's how you answer them. It's called STAR formats. The situation, ask, the action, and the results. And that's how you answer the questions in the interview. And it gets it just, really quick. Communicating your value, just teaching people how to present themselves well and sell themselves to the employer. So they say, you like this one right there. Yes. So we get you ready for the interview. Our customer base is mostly military right now, and I think that's only because I'm really close to military base. I'm in Savannah, Georgia. So we have Fort Stewart, we have Hunter over here, and those people are always transitioning out. So we get a lot of those people leaving from the military sector, coming to the civilian world, or re-entering back into that world, and they need help translating what the jargon is in military terms to civilians, so everybody knows what you're doing and, you know, what's going on. Yeah, so that's basically what we do and who we service. We service all types of people. You can be an executive, a CEO, you can be a blue collar, white collar. We do all the resumes. So just come to us. You got it.
I love it. I love it, Brandi. This is gold. So you've had your own journey. I think that's one of the biggest aspects of who you are today, and your championing of people, of humankind. And I want to share with our audience about that journey and what it was like for you. So take us back to where you want to catch our audience up with what happened.
All right. So in 2009, I was 24 years old. And I was kind of lost, like the regular college kid. They don't really know what they're going to be doing, what's happening, or what's really life is really about.
Right.
Really, had a younger sister who ended up joining the military before I decided to go. And she went. I went to her graduation. I ended up like boo-hooing and crying. It was so touching. I'm like, wow, my younger sister is doing amazing things, and I'm sitting here going to college. I'm not really sure what I want to do, but she's going to get a jump start in her career. Her student loans are going to get paid off. She's going to go to school for free. And I'm like, oh, and she has a job and she's working. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, that's what I should do. So I decide, or she talks me into it. I'm going to join the military too. She, what I saw, I'm sold. So I decided to join the military. And I did basic training, did AIT, did all of that. And I did really well. I was maxed out on all my physical tests, the PT test, physical tests. Did really well on that. I never had a problem or issue with that. I played sports my entire life. I was the kid in 7th grade who was taking the seniors' positions in basketball and soccer. Wow. Everybody hated me because I was just so athletic. It was really easy. I could grasp, hand and eye coordination really well. So military was just like a breeze for me. So I joined, and I also was wanting to play soccer. So I was like, okay, maybe I can get a job that would allow me to play soccer for the military. I could defend my country, play for my country, represent my country. Boom. How awesome would that be? I would love to do that. And then I played sports forever. So that's what the original goal was, to play for my country, defend the country, and to go to school. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why I joined initially. So long story short with that part, I was at my main duty station for 1 month and 9 days. And when I got there, I was told that I was going to Iraq. And I was like, that's not on my list. I don't know if that's going to be so smart. Like, I just learned how to shoot a gun, just learned how to, throw a grenade the correct way. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. That might not be so smart, But I ended up going down there. And then when I was there, I was maybe deployed for about 5.5 months. And then I ended up getting this tumor in my leg, and it's called Ewing Sarcoma. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I really honestly thought, because I was just so naive and so invincible, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm so healthy. This is, cancer never crossed my mind. So I was just working out constantly. And one of the reasons I was working out so hard was because I was going to get some days off to get more rest. Right. And that's one of the symptoms, is you're so tired. And no matter how much rest I got, I was exhausted. Mm-hmm. But that's because of what was happening inside my body. I had this enemy trying to kill me and do all these crazy things. And I had no idea. So every time I would go to bed, I just wake up beyond exhausted, felt like I had been awake with 10 babies in the room. I'm so tired. Wow. And I couldn't not be tired. So I dedicated all my free time to working out really hard, and I attributed that to why I was so exhausted.
Right.
But I ended up getting a tumor. My roommates talked me into, getting the tumor looked at, and then I discovered it's Ewing Sarcoma cancer, and that's when everything went haywire and life took a turn, and everything. The old Brandi died, and this new person came about. But it's about 11 years ago.
Wow. So how did you respond when it happened, and like, what was the initial impression on you, and like, how did you move forward through it?
I definitely thought I was going to die at first, because everybody that I had talked to, the stuff I looked up on the internet, the doctors that were talking to me, just the prognosis of having sarcoma is really bad, because when you get it, it's so rare and so aggressive. First of all, nobody knows what it like if you have it or not, because it could be in the bone. So like your bone could like have like a growth spurt, and so your bones are a little achy, they're a little sore, or you might have like a little tumor, but the tumor's like really deeply embedded in a cavity, so you won't notice it or see it because it's so down deep in here.
Wow.
Which that's how mine was, and I would have never known anything if I didn't. I was stretching that day, and I had pulled my leg up to my chest, and I saw this lump protruding. I'm like, what is that? Would have never known. If I wasn't somebody who worked out and stretched and did all that, I would have never known. It would just continuously grow and grow and grow and grow. So just being aware of what's going on, and I had no clue. I really thought I was going to die, though. But that was initially before I was like, you know what? I'm not listening to what everybody's telling me, what the internet is saying. This is, I don't have to. I have take back my life. I'm going to take it back. But initially I was really nervous. Or everybody thought I was going to die. The priest.
Like if someone gets news of like some kind of diagnosis or prognosis or whatever it might be, like what would you recommend to people to do as far as like a mindset shift, or what, like how to go about moving forward?
So definitely finding out what type of cancer is, what's the stage, where it's located, and then also finding out what the treatment, what they recommend, right?
Yep.
Is it possible for you to do alternative treatments and medicines? I mean, is that something that could be, are you able to do that? And this is, okay, I want to say this because, so as I've been like talking about the sarcoma, and I get all these text messages and all these messages online or Instagram, and they'll all tell me, okay, well, what do we do? And I'm like, well, of course, talk to your doctor, find out what's going on. But I've noticed a lot of them, once they don't have cancer anymore, they stop the treatment, and then they go elsewhere and they try something else. When I had the choice of the options, I didn't have a choice of the option to do that. I was in the military and I was their property, so I had to continue on with the treatment.
Wow.
But I would say find out if your body is still under the same circumstances. Do you still have cancer? Are you cancer free? If you are cancer free, do you really want to continue with the treatment, because it's so harsh on the body? Yeah. You're literally poisoning yourself. Like, it's the most horrendous, and just, I don't know how to, like, you're literally like, just imagine drinking poison like for days, and then you have to like be on the brink of death. Then they bring you back with fluids and like, medication, but it's like, it's so uncomfortable. But yeah, just, explore your options and see what it is, and then find out what stage you're in, and what are your other options? And then also be very aware of like what's going on and what people are saying. Get the negative people out of your life. Bring some positivity in there. I always tell people there's this new show. It's called Heal. Have you heard of it? It's on, I believe it's Netflix. It's on Netflix. And it's exactly about that. It's about how the body is able to heal itself when it's in like a nice homeostasis like point. Where there's not a lot of stress, and you're eating right, and you're eating healthy, and you're like meditating, and you're being calm. Like, you need to be in that kind of environment. You don't need to be in like fight or flight 24/7, because that's just not healthy for you.
That's I would say what typically causes the dis-ease, the like things that go wrong in our body, like even cancers. Like, you were so young though. It's like that for something like that, can't necessarily correlate it to like unhealthy lifestyle or anything like that. It's like there's so many different causes.
I was in Iraq, and we got bombed all the time, and so I think when you're under stress all the time, like cells create, I don't remember, expose, something with EXPO something, but they create this, they give off this chemical, and it poisons the cell when you're really stressed out all the time. So it could have been, I could have got it myself because that's a big jug of water.
That's right. Is it cortisol? Were you saying cortisol or no?
Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the cortisol.
I know cortisol is like the fight or flight chemical that like activates, but if there's like a slow drip or even a big drip of it long term, it like eats away at your adrenals and things like that.
Well, maybe that's what it is. Yeah. I just know that you don't need to be stressed out. It's terrible for your body. Stress mimics lots of diseases.
Yeah. So after that, you bounced back, so to speak. And what happened? What did you say you're going to do with your life?
Oh, yeah. So after I find out that I'm not going to die, and I took a whole breath in my life, and I kind of make a promise to myself. So first, let me rewind. I have a nephew, but at the time he was really young. He was like 2 or 3. It was going to be 3. He was really young. I was really sad that I was going to die and not get to know him or go to his soccer games or, interact, or he wasn't even going to know me. So I'm like, how can I make sure that I leave something for him so he remembers me, something tangible for him versus like looking at pictures. I mean, you don't really, there's not too much you can do with that. Plus he's a little kid. He's not going to remember. So I started writing a journal, and the journal was for him, about what we were doing, where we're going, what's he doing, what's going on in our lives right now. And I made a promise to myself that if I got to live, that I was going to change these journals into a book someday. And I'm proud to say I kept that promise. I did. And then also too, I made it like a little clip a couple weeks ago. It was 2018 or 19, a little while ago. Made a little clip about like a little trailer for my book that I had coming out. And in one of the clips that we were doing, I made sure I interviewed my nephew, but we didn't put it on the segment there. And we're like, talking like, do you remember anything from the hospital? What was going on? He's like, I don't remember anything. I'm like, that's exactly why I wrote a book. Wow. So he remembered something or see what was going on, what I was going through. You had an aunt that cared a lot about you, and for whatever reason it was, I wasn't able to stay on Earth that long, but I wanted to leave something for him, and that's what I ended up doing.
So writing those journals, you wanted to leave like a legacy. You wanted to share about what the experience was more than just pictures or videos or whatever it might be. Right. What was different about how you looked at life in addition to wanting to, leave a legacy and share what your experience was like? Like, how did you see life differently? How did you interact with people differently? What changed about your mission,
Everything changed. I remember there was one time I was in, it was Silver Spring, it was in Maryland, and, I'd be able to get passes to leave when my counts were high enough. We were at this place called Egg Expectation. We were eating and stuff, and there was this couple that was arguing, and they were fighting. And it was really cold outside, and I could see the breath outside and stuff. And I'm like, why are they arguing? Like, why are they fighting? Life is so short. If I get to live, I'm never going to be arguing and fighting. Like, I just had this whole different mindset of like, I'm not gonna waste my life. I'm gonna do the things that make me happy, and I don't want to like worry about putting other people down. And I became very humble, and then very like transparent about like illnesses and traumas and things that were happening, and just really sympathetic to other people and empathetic because I'm on both sides of spectrums now. I know how it feels to be sick or to have something really traumatic happen to you and you not know what's going to happen in the future. And then, watching the people that were on the ward that ended up passing away and dying, and watching really close friends of mine, one day they're there and the next night they're gone. So I just feel like it just really made me more relatable to people. And I'm able to also like serve as some sort of like advice if they need help with something. Like, I just feel like I'm here to help people and to let them know that life is hard sometimes, and there's going to be adversity, but we don't have to give up, and that we have the choice to push on. And that's really what it is right now. It's just helping those and letting them know that life is going to be okay. and not to give up. You know,
Mm.
we're here. This is life. Life is beautiful. It's ugly. It's painful. It's lovely. But that's like that's the reason of us being here. You know, we're here to experience this. It's part of it. Everything can't be great.
Right. And all the dimensions and all the contrast, right? The experience is not meant to be, all right, you're on cloud 9 for the rest of your life. Like, have fun. You know, it's like,
Right.
no, there needs to be some contrast to say, okay, well, I really value this joy. I really value this peace. I really value this health because I know what it's like to not have these things.
Exactly. How can you understand the difference between anything if you only experience one side? There's nothing to judge from, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So powerful. I want to talk about, you were mentioning today, like the chaos and the stress and uncertainty that's in the world today. I think it's really just like amplified, right? There's a lot of energy that is amplifying people. And I want to know, how do you feel like going through that adversity equipped you to show up today powerfully as your best self?
I don't know how to explain it, but I always feel like it's going to be okay, no matter what. And so I also learned this too with the cancer stuff, and then kind of just going on in life, and just in general. But like, so we're here to experience these experiences and these things, and I just know that it's going to be over sometime. You know,
Yep.
this pandemic is not going to last forever.
Right.
Toilet paper is going to be back on the shelf someday. You know, things that it's like it's not going to be this horrible, terrible experience. So I just really just, I don't want to say I'm enjoying it. I'm just like being aware of what's
Yes.
going on, and
Yeah.
like kind of just like taking notes about stuff. And then I'm saying like, in 10 years I'm gonna talk about how I was walking my dog and there's nobody on the street anymore, or just taking what it's for. It's just the experience. It's living in the moment, really. It's because it's not going to be forever. This is not going to be forever. So I just feel less worried about stuff.
Yeah. I appreciate what you said though, about like how can I enjoy this? How can I stay in my joy? How can I stay in my bliss, my high vibe, my love, even when so many people are clinging to and living in fear? Like, how can I have compassion and grace and understanding for that, while still not saying, okay, well, because everyone's in fear, or a lot of people are in fear, I have to bring myself down and experience that fear with them, because that is what's relatable. That's what, it would have them connect with me. It's like being able to empathize while still staying connected with your empowerment, with your, groundedness and just sense of security, like
Right.
without getting like all the fear triggered up inside of us.
Right, and it is kind of hard to find that balance, because I do have
Oh
some
yeah.
friends that really like think the world's going to end, and I kind of just stay away from that, because I can't. It's like I can't give them my energy with that, because I don't
Yeah.
agree with it. So when I start saying, what, it's going to be okay, and whatever their answers are, and it's like then it kind of turns into like a little match of good and bad, but it's like
Right.
it doesn't have to be like that. So I just
Right.
remove myself, and I just stay in my own little bubble.
Yeah.
I'm walking my dog, and of course I'm abiding by the rules and social distancing and doing all those great things. But I'm also like thinking about what my goals are. What am I going to do after this?
Yep.
After this is over, everybody's going to be looking for a job. I'm like, well, how can I capitalize on that? How can
Yeah.
what package can I put together?
Yep.
Who is going to be my new market? Like, who's the target audience? Like, I'm kind of like trying to figure out what my next move is going to be, because I'm going to be busy.
Yep.
That's a good
Yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great thing, and I really feel like you're going into this saying, how can I thrive through this? How can I thrive, even if I may not necessarily, have people banging on my door right now, although they might be, it's like, I know that there's a situation that's going on where a lot of people feel like they don't know what to do. And so it's like, there's no hope for them, so to speak. Some people might not feel the hope of, I'm going to go get a job. And actually, when I do apply, when I do put in a resume, of course they're going to hire me. People aren't necessarily thinking like that, but at some point, they will. At some point, like, things will shift, and they'll say, okay, it's time, because it's the world's changing, it's safe, whatever it might be, and then they'll come to you. How can you be ready and prepared to handle that massive flow when it comes?
Right. or even like working on yourself.
Yeah.
Or this is a great time. People are like, I don't have time for the gym. Well, now you do.
Shoot.
You know, you have time to go walk around. You have time to do crunches. You
Yep.
have time to learn some new recipes. You have nothing but time on your hands. So I'm like, you know, if you don't come out of this like stronger and a
Mm.
better person, then something's wrong. You know, you had so much time on your hands, because before that was the excuse. You didn't have time. Now you have all the time in the world.
Yep.
You know?
When you talk to someone who is making excuses and more so being in the victim energy, you were such a victor, going through cancer and coming out on the other side. Like, how do you relate to those people who are like, I don't know if I can do it, and I think that there's a difference between like not being open to a solution and just people being stuck and, wallowing in their pity kind of thing. And people who are like, man, I just don't know how, like, I feel like I've tried everything. I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like the world's against me, but what can I do? Like, how do you relate to those people?
I feel like it is a learned behavior, and I feel like you can teach an old dog tricks. Still, it doesn't matter how old a person is. You can always change. You can always enhance things or take away. But I definitely feel like if there is somebody who is like that, I always tell them, it's not like a story or anything, but I always tell them that we are all made of the same thing, right? We all have organs and eyes and, a brain, and we have thoughts. And some people are millionaires, some people are broke. And I say, well, what's the difference between you and the other person? Essentially, it's yourself. You're the one who's stopping yourself from being the best version of yourself. And I tell them that we all have this elite person inside of us, this amazing person. We all have this person that people can drive and pull inspiration from. You can be the funny person, you can be the happy person, you can be whatever you want. Why choose to be the victim if you don't have to? Why would you? If you want things to change, why don't you try? Why not try some new things? If you don't like where you're at, try some new steps. Why not? And so I always tell them, anybody can do it. Anything's possible. And it's just been embedded inside of me. My mother has instilled this, and my parents have. I've been brought up like that. So that's probably why it's so easy for me to believe that. When I was little, and I would talk to my mom, and I'd be like, I want to make it on this, basketball team, or I want this. She'd be like, well, you have to practice, and, you're just not going to get it. You have to put effort into it, but why can't you have it? You have to put the work in. If you want it, you can have it. But I grew up, my parents have always, there's nothing difference between that millionaire and me. If I want it that bad, you can have it. You just have to find the means, the resources, and that path to get there. So if that's what I would tell them, you can be whatever you want. Anything's possible. Anything.
Boom. I love it. Converting the journals into the book. What was that like?
It was interesting. So when I wrote the journal, so they all had entries, and it kind of, it was like mumble jumble. A lot of it didn't make it to the actual book, because I had to create the book piece. I had to make it more of a book, not like a journal. Before it made the book, I had the journal, and I entered into a program called Savannah College of Art and Design. And I got an MFA in writing. And to do that, you needed to put a thesis together. So this entire time while I'm in this program, I'm using, I know I want to write a book one day, and I know I want to use this thesis from my journal. I want to somehow make that correlate. So I'm pulling pieces from my journal, and I'm putting things together, and I'm like secretly making a book. And so when I finished everything and I submitted my thesis to my committee, they said, oh my God, this is amazing. They're like, and so they encouraged me to finish it. And I'm like, I'm done with this thing. I don't want to have to keep putting more effort into it. I just want to put it out there. But it was very therapeutic. I remember like revisiting some of the scenes and like crying a little bit, and like it's just so crazy to think that I did that, like, wow, that is my story. I went through all of that. I had that crazy cancer. I had my adductor muscle removed. I watched my friends die. I was in Iraq, and it's just like, wow, because it's like 10 years ago, and it's still just so mind-boggling that I went through that, you know? So it's just, even though it's been time and I still have this really long scar on my leg and can't run or do the things that I used to do, it's still just like, wow, you know, it's still surreal. But when I read the book and I revisit it, it just brings a lot of emotions up. Makes me kind of sad. Makes me happy that I got to live, but then sad because, you know, I got robbed of all this stuff that I wanted to do, but that wasn't in my cards. So, yeah, you know, it's just a crazy, crazy story. My story.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're owning it in such a way that you want to contribute it to others. You want to contribute the lessons, the wisdom, so that it makes a difference for others. And you're speaking as well. I want to hear a little bit more about how you got started speaking and sharing about this with audiences.
Yeah, so I do different types of talks. Right now, I've been doing a lot about the enemy inside you, and it kind of, you know, it plays off of my book. And the enemy inside you is a metaphor. So that could be adversity. It could be some sort of hardship. Something that's not allowing you to be the best version of yourself. That's the enemy,
right?
Inside of you. So that's what it's about. So I'll go in there. We'll just talk about my story and what happened with me. How the enemy inside me was cancer trying to take over my life. How I didn't let it stop me. How I took all of these lessons that I learned and I kind of just like recreated myself. So now I'm a speaker. I'm talking about adversity and these things that are stopping people. I'm helping veterans that have either been displaced and come back into this society or this, you know, civilian sector, and helping them find jobs and placing them. And you know, I wrote a book, and it's just really taken on its own, you know, a life of its own. Because I didn't think I would be doing this. You know, I wasn't ready, and I just started doing this last year. I used to be so nervous and so scared when I would do podcasts. I would like write all my answers down about what I was going to be saying, and I would just be, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. But now it's a breeze, and I enjoy talking to people and spreading awareness about sarcoma, because a lot of people don't know about it. They know about breast cancer and lung cancer, and you know, stomach cancer, you know, just the regular cancers. Nobody really knows anything about sarcoma. It's like the redheaded stepchild of all the cancers. You know, nobody knows about it. And let alone people can't even pronounce the name correctly. Ewing Sarcoma. Like nobody knows anything. And if we had more awareness about it and early detection, because we were speaking about it, you would save lives and their limbs, because that's, you know, affects the limbs of the body. So, but that's what my mission is. It's just spreading awareness about it and letting people know that after you survive a traumatic event, whether it's cancer or whether it's a divorce or you've lost somebody you love, some sort of horrendous accident, whatever the trauma is, that you need mental stability, mental fitness to be able to like bounce back. You know, you can't always live in the past and constantly thinking about the past and bringing it up and what happened to you in the past. You have to move on, you know. So I try to teach people tools and how to do that, and, you know, letting them know that you have to let go of that old person, because you're no longer, you know, that old Chris. You're a new Chris now, you know. You have an amazing experience, amazing chance to reinvent yourself. You know, a lot of people don't get that experience or that opportunity. So, you know, it's golden.
I want to dive into the difference of sarcoma versus other cancers, and like why you feel like it's important to educate people on this topic and make sure that they're aware of it.
So there's so many different sarcomas, but the one that I had is called Ewing Sarcoma.
Okay. So
it's either a soft tissue cancer, which means that it's everywhere but the bone. And everywhere means like in a localized area, it hasn't metastasized or spread anywhere, or it's in the bone, in that region, wherever that area it's at. So if it does metastasize, it'll go to the brainstem, it'll go to your lungs, and it'll go to your spinal cord. So having early detection and understanding what stage you're in is very important, because it just, you know, it just travels everywhere, and then it takes over and passes away. But So it affects the limbs, and it will be deeply embedded in like a cavity. So it might be like really deep down in here in your, what is this? Your
Clavicle? Yeah.
Clavicle. Yes, there you go. In your clavicle. Yes, your collarbone, clavicle. So it could be deep down in here.
Yeah.
They can get it like up where their knees are at, like in the socket up there. And you won't know about it because you can't see it. You know, a lot of people, and that's what people just, they don't understand. Like some people come back with PTSD, they don't think it's real because they can't see it on them. It's like it's in their head, but that's a different story. So with this, it's like it's embedded inside the body, and it will be, you know, in the legs or the hip area or in the stomach. So you'll have pains, or you'll fractures, or really dull aches. You're really tired, but being aware of these symptoms and then going to the doctors and figuring out what it is that you have. And you need to go to a specialist sometimes, because a lot of people don't know about this cancer. So you get misdiagnosed. I got misdiagnosed. They thought I had something called a nerve sheath tumor, which is something completely different. But then after I got there, they're like, okay, your biopsy cells that we took, they're really old and they died, so we have to do a new biopsy. So that's when they did the new biopsy, and then they told me I had Ewing sarcoma. It would have been a different type of treatment. They would have been treating me for the wrong disease. I could have died. I could have lost my leg. But luckily, I had a really good HEMOC team, and they figured it out. But just being aware of the different symptoms and talking about it, it's really important. A lot of people don't know about it. I didn't know about it. I never heard about this, ever.
So I'm curious in terms of, I think that there's a level of like preparation that we can do to like be prepared for something. And then there's like going into, all right, now I'm looking for a problem or something wrong. Like what do you feel is the balance between, like, cause you're super positive, you're super encouraging, and you're also at the same time saying, hey, be prepared, know if there's something going on, like you have to be aware of this specific thing that might be hard to detect.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't know what the perfect balance is. Like I couldn't tell you. I don't feel like if only because I'm aware of what the symptoms are. But if I was somebody who didn't know, I'm not sure if you would know to bring your son who has like a sore elbow
right
to to an oncologist or something. Like I'm not quite sure what the perfect steps would be. I just know that it should be talked about more, and the doctor should be more educated about that type of cancer. So if they see those red flags, they're able to jump on it sooner, versus later. But I don't know what the perfect balance would be. I am not even sure. I'm still learning.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. Is like, because I think there's, when something goes wrong, when something's not working right, that's usually when people look for a solution, right? Mm-hmm. And I love your cause and your mission, and it's like, it's because you experienced it firsthand that you're such a champion for it, right? Like that's something that's really important. I'm wondering what does it take for you, especially if you're inspiring this movement of people to become more aware and know what their options are and get education out there. What does it take for people to want to get involved and want to join you and want to, share more information about this if they haven't experienced it themselves,
Right. Well, I think it would be great to not only spread to like the public, but educate the doctors. Talk to the doctors. Let them, I'm trying to do a couple of, well, they got canceled because of the coronavirus, but I was going to be talking to a team of oncologists about my experience, what was going on, and, letting them know what the symptoms are and how can we improve them for early detection, and letting them know what it is, because I got misdiagnosed because they didn't know the science. They didn't know what are they looking for. It's so rare. A lot of people don't have it. And I believe it's like 200 people a year get this type of cancer. And it's usually little boys, Caucasian boys.
What?
So I didn't fit the description at all. It's probably why also they kind of ruled it out.
Wow.
They're probably like, she's not a little boy. She's not 14. She's not a kid. And, she's African American, so we don't that out. However, that's not the case. So
Wow.
just educating them, letting them be aware about it. And I think like I don't know why it wouldn't be so popular for like not the little kids, like the the parents who are raising their children, because it's a child cancer. Little
Right,
kids
right,
get it.
right.
So I don't know. I don't know how we could bring awareness to it. Maybe more, more runs or some commercials or, speaking about some products that helped it, but definitely trying to figure out how to drive this awareness. And I'm really trying to start with the doctors, because
Yeah.
they're the ones who, when we as patients come to them, we're looking to them to give us answers.
Yep.
And if both of us are clueless, that could be risking somebody's life, their limb. You can't get that back. So educating them first and getting them equipped with the right terminology and the right jargon of what it is and the treatment plans. I think that's really important. So I'm trying to start with the doctors first,
Yep.
trying to speak with them about what's going on, and then from there, maybe they can have little pamphlets. When you do your kid's physical, and you can hand out some stuff about that, or I don't know. Well, I got to figure that out. But
This is good. I think another thing that would take it to the next level is your doctor's testimonial, like being able to create some kind of thing that you share with the doctors who you talk to. Maybe you do tell them like, here's what my doctor would have done differently, how they would have approached it differently, that you can take preventative actions on and not have to go through those same mistakes or potential misdiagnosis, something like that. So it's like, speak to them in a way of someone who they respect or relate to. That's number one. But number two is also more stories of other patients, right? And how they recovered. And that's also on interviews too, like doing this in news, speaking in public, whatever it might be. You have a story. And like, how can you bring in other people's stories? Like a little boy, right? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of parents who would relate to a story of a little boy who got it and fought it and survived or whatever it might be, more than, let's say, you. If they if they have a little boy but they don't have a 20-something-year-old or 17-year-old daughter or whatever it might be, like that would relate to them more. So it's like just creating more stories that could relate, depending on who hears it.
Right. That's really important. I think that is great. And I have so many people that reach out to me. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but I have so many. My Instagram is full of people from India, from Germany.
Wow.
I have lots of them from Germany, lots of them from India. I have a couple from like the States. I have somebody in New York, and they'll send me messages like, "Hey, I saw your story. I have a couple of questions," and then they'll just whatever the questions are, and I'm like, okay. And I'm not a doctor, but I just tell them what my experience was, what I went through, what I experienced, what they potentially could expect, from the treatment or the side effects, or I'll tell them about a certain vitamin that I was on, or are making sure they have X amount of liters of hydration after the treatments, because that's so important to be hydrated to flush out the toxins. But I have like a book inside of my messages. It's amazing, and a lot of people have recovered. A couple of them, they would stop messaging me, and then I would find out that they passed away, and I'm like, that's really sad. I was talking to one girl, her name was Brenna, and she was I think it was in Vermont. And we were, talking back and forth, and she had just ordered my book and she was reading it. She was really happy. And then she kind of like we stopped communicating for like a month, and she wrote me back, and she said her cancer came back, and this time it was somewhere else. And I'm like, hey, it's going to be all right. Try these things. Let's talk to your doctor here. Like trying to give her advice. I'm doing research about stuff and trying to help her out. And then communication just stops. There's nothing for months. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. And then I'm like digging around, doing research, and I find out she passed away. And I'm like, that is really sad. She was hilarious. She had so much, I think she was 22, and it's just like, that's just so sad. That's the only like bad thing about talking to the cancer patients is sometimes they live and sometimes they don't. And I feel like, how come they didn't make it? but I did. You know, like, what did I do differently? Or, you know, what could I have said? Or maybe I could have gave some better advice. You know, it's just a little hard sometimes, but I making a lot of friends.
Yeah.
A lot of friends.
Making a lot of friends. It's so good though that like there's the realness of life and death, right? Like that it's a gift. Both of them are a gift. Life is a gift, and even death is a gift. And it's not necessarily easy. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. It's in fact it's probably really difficult with these people who are on that verge. Some of them go on, they're champions and they survive, and it's like we celebrate that, and they are thriving, they're alive. And then some of them they don't make it, right? And in those moments, what do we choose to focus on? Do we choose to like get frustrated and angry? And even what I heard you say is like, I want to make sure that I'm doing my best. I want to make sure that I got them the information that could have made the difference for them, and like really thinking about that. Yeah. And making sure that we don't go into like obsessing about it and also beating ourselves up over, what didn't I do? Like what did I do wrong? Instead, coming from what could I have done differently in the future to make an even bigger impact. I did the best that I could. I showed up. I served. I inspired. I had great moments. If the person lived, awesome. I was a part of that. If the person didn't, like, hey, I was a part of those last great moments and doing the best that I could and bringing light to an otherwise pretty dark situation. And I think it's definitely a dance. Definitely can be tough in those times.
Yeah, it can be hard, but I just tell myself everything happens for a reason. So whoever ended up passing away, like that was their purpose. That's what they did. They're finished here and they're on to the next dimension. So I can't like harp on it and beat myself up about it, because I tried my best and I give them all the information that I knew that I had. And I go as far as even finding them doctors. And I'm like, well, look at this doctor or look at this person. Have you tried this therapy? Have you done this? And I always tell them to watch the Law of Attraction. I tell them about the Law of Attraction. I tell them about the movie called Heal. I'm like, you guys have to watch these things and you have to implement it. Like, I don't know if that works. I'm not quite sure. All the research I've been doing says it does. So, I just try to be a wealth of knowledge. I try to practice what I preach, for sure.
Yep. You mentioned a couple tools that you use and you teach as well to like stay high vibe, to move forward. You mentioned Law of Attraction. You mentioned Heals. Or any other like tools, practices, resources that are like your go-to to stay empowered and move forward?
I talk to myself a lot. So if I say something in my head or out loud, and if it's like a negative thing, I always tell myself, my negative thoughts are so weak and they have no power. My positive thoughts are 1,000 times more powerful, and they're going to manifest quickly. So I'm always, if I say something like, oh, if it's not too great, I'm like, and I'll just repeat those things. I'm like, okay, so just focus on the positive. And I daydream a lot. Like, I just think about like how great it would be to have this wonderful life and to have these things and the stuff that I want. But I definitely do a lot of like mentality things that, bring about what it is that I want to have and I want to experience. And then I look for those things that are going to manifest that into my life.
Yeah, so good. I love that. Like really staying connected with the possibility, with the future, with moving forward rather than like what has been, negativity, fearful thoughts, and like moving forward.
Yeah. And what didn't work in the past. You don't want to continuously bringing in those things that didn't work. So, if you go to a store and you get a necklace and every single time you go there, it breaks. You don't want to go there every single. You want to go to another place. You want to go somewhere else,
Yes.
But why would you continuously keep shopping at this store that sells terrible products? Go somewhere that has quality. But that's what I've been doing with my life.
I love it. I love it, Brandi. So let's start to wrap it up with a final takeaway for our audience. What do you really want them to get from this interview and take action on?
All right. I would love for people, because the time is now, to focus on the future. Let's not think about this terrible thing that's going on. Of course, being aware and stuff, but also knowing that what's happening right now is just temporary, and don't make any permanent decisions that are going to alter the future. For the worst, So what's going on right now is not going to last forever. Definitely learn from the past, and take this time that we're in like an idle state right now and work on yourself and make those things that on your to-do list, make them manifest, make them create, dream big. What's on your dream list? Like, how can you make these things accomplished? We have so much time right now. So just using this time wisely and knowing that it's not going to last forever is so important, you know? And yeah, that's the takeaway today.
Boom. I like to say it as this too shall pass, right? This too shall pass.
Yes, it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
It does. It's
So,
going to be just fine.
so powerful. Brandi, let's tell our audience how they can stay connected with you and what do we want them to do next?
All right. They can stay connected on my Instagram. It's at brandil.benson. And my website is www.brandilbenson.com.
Beautiful. I love it. Brandi L. Benson. That's Brandi, Brandi, L. Benson, BENSON.com. And Brandi, you're a powerhouse. It's an honor to help you get your message out, and especially, just like brainstorming on ways that we can increase the impact and increase people jumping into the cause, supporting how they can. You're doing such great work in the world. And for everyone who wants to amp up their resume, get some professional services done, and improve their interviews, the STAR formula, like, oh my gosh, so good. Definitely get in touch with Brandi. You're a powerhouse.
Yes. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome. We'll see you soon, okay?
All right. Bye-bye.